Hi, I'm Jennifer. I make little videos about things that I'm just thinking about. Just random little things. And today's topic of interest is Emily Brontë, which I have never really been a huge fan of. I mean, I just didn't really know much about her, so I didn't know enough to be a fan. I was always a Jane Austen girly, but that's just me. But I was listening to a little video about her life, and oh my God, how I wish that I could live in those times. As a woman, I would love it. Then again, I don't know exactly what it would be like. I don't know their struggles, but the idea of literally just kind of learning things all day and doing house chores, and like she spent her days learning German and French and writing poetry. That's what women did in those times. And of course doing house chores and stuff, which we all do now unless we're fortunate enough to have like maids or something. But the idea of just being able, like, that's your responsibilities, is to learn. I would be so happy. But if you don't like your situation in that time, I feel like my camera's foggy. Hold on one second. Okay. If you don't like your situation during that time, there's really nothing you can do about it. You're kind of reliant on the men in your life. You're reliant on your father, your husband, your brothers, whatever. Because they're the ones out there like making the money and bringing home the bacon, so to speak. So you're kind of stuck with whatever life that you're given as a woman. So it's like luck of the draw. You get like a situation like Emily Brontë. She was in a situation where her family wasn't rich at all, but they weren't like poor. They weren't doing bad. They had what they needed. And I think that's probably the place to be. Of course, being rich would be nice, but of course, being rich would be ideal, but it's obviously better than being dirt poor, especially as a woman. And there's really not much you can do about it except maybe become some sort of like slut or courtesan, in the words of the, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century. Yeah. If I were a poor woman, I would totally, in that time period, I would have totally become a courtesan. 100%. That's like your ticket out as a poor woman, because your status is not high enough to marry into wealth. You have no power. And really, your only chance is to become educated in some way and just climb up the ranks. Hey, courtesans back then, like a high status courtesan, that is the life. You're learning about all these different things. You're educated. You get to go to all these parties and meet these people. You kind of have some freedom compared to other women because you're not expected to get married and you're not expected to, like, there's just less expectations on you. No one's ever like truly free to do whatever they want, but you're pretty free compared to other women as a courtesan during that time. And the possibilities are endless, especially if you're, somewhat good looking. And we all know looks can be altered. Makeup, hair, you can find a way. Also, I've heard plenty of stories of famous courtesans throughout history that were not generally deemed as beautiful women back in their day, but they made their way through personality and strategy and creating the illusion of something mysterious and beautiful and desirable. So who gives a fuck what you look like or what you were born with? You got to make what you can out of it. That's my take on that. Anyways, back to Brontë. I've never read Wuthering Heights. Now I really want to read it before the movie comes out because the movie looks superb. I love Margot Robbie. I loved the aesthetics of the movie. It looks like it'll be a fun watch. I don't know the story. And now I'm feeling like I need to read it and add that to the list of a million books that I want to read. Great. That's lovely. She died unfortunately, at the age of 30 or 31, like shortly after she wrote Wuthering Heights. And at the time, it wasn't like necessarily received well, but she died before it was actually raised to the heights at which it is now. She had no idea that it would become a classic. She was just like a regular girl, just writing poems and writing stories, because what else is she going to do with her time with her sisters? And she happened to write a novel. She put it out. She died of tuberculosis. She died of inflammation of the lungs. She got a cold after her brother died, and then died shortly after that at 30 years old, or 31. I can't remember exactly. Could you imagine? I'm 34. Like, if I were her, I would have been dead for 3 years now. That's insane. And now we have cures for these simple things. Like, I am watching Victoria right now, and one of my favorite characters has syphilis. And that sucks, because now we have antibiotics. You can cure syphilis. Easy. Like, not a huge deal. But back then, and for him, it meant he can't get married. If he has sex with anyone, he gives it to them. He's got rashes, and his health is declining. And it's like kind of a death sentence eventually if you have syphilis. And it's just the death of life as you knew it, basically. And today you can just pop some antibiotics and it's gone. It's really sad. But yeah, Emily Brontë. It's said that Emily Brontë was very shy or very antisocial. She didn't like talking to people. She was very to herself. Okay, and get this. When she got tuberculosis, she refused treatment. She refused it. She didn't want any sort of thing. She said, these were her words, she didn't want any poison near her. So she deemed the treatments, the medicines that the doctor was trying to give her as poison. And she didn't want it, which I completely relate with, because every time I take any sort of medicine, and I take a lot of medicine sometimes because I get migraines, and at that point I'm like, screw it, give me the poison, because this is so incredibly painful. I don't give a fuck what the consequences are. Give me the Tylenol, give me the aspirin, give me the, whatever. And she said, I don't want the poison near me, which is like, do you ever I don't know if anybody else does this, but do you ever eat something or have something near you, or have like a product, like a lotion or a fragrance or a certain kind of makeup, or just you can like sense the poison in it? Does anybody else like get that, where you just like you can feel, and it's probably in my head, but I feel like I can feel like that something is poisonous, or that it's going to be bad for me specifically. Like, it's just not going to be good for me. Like mayonnaise, I always had that vibe about mayonnaise. I could not stand the idea of it. It really grossed me out. It was like, and the funny thing is, I didn't mind the way that it tasted. The idea of it really like put me off. It felt like just wrong to have near me or in my body. It felt wrong to eat. Just things like that. And so I really get her on that. I'm sure a lot of people think that's strange. Like, why wouldn't you want to get treated when you're clearly very sick? And I guess at the very end, I think she probably felt that she was about to go. She was like, all right, go ahead and send for the doctor. Like, I'm not beating this on my own. And it was too late by then. Which is why when I get migraines, if it's really bad, just take the poison. Like, live to see another day. If you get migraines, take the medicine, because why waste a day in pain of your life? Like, yeah, maybe it's bad for your liver. Your liver will regenerate, and maybe it'll cause slightly ill health for some time until you regenerate your liver or detox your system. But at least you won't be in pain, wasting your time on the earth, laying in bed, not being able to move. At least you can do that. So that's my take on medicine. And I totally get where she was coming from, but at that point, honey, just take the medicine. Just take it. Poison yourself a little bit so you can live to, see your book become what it is today. Well, at least see it become what it would be and within her lifetime. So, closing thoughts. I hate living in this modern world as a woman. I would have loved to have pretty much zero pressure put on me except to do the house chores and to learn French and German and write poetry and educate myself. Amazing. However, I do understand, I'm sure a lot of those women would be just elated to be able to have the freedom that we women have today and the ability to be whatever we want to be. So there is that grain of salt. Also, Emily Brontë, what a tragic story of potential lost because she wouldn't take some medicine. Anyways, that's today's video. Have a great day.